This is a great article because it really destroys a lot of what you keep hearing on these podcasts, these so-called experts on marriage and relationships. According to this article, which came out a few years ago, 90% of millionaires are married, and 65% have been married to the same person for 30 years. Now, why is that important? These people are getting married young. When they're young, when they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, they're prioritizing stability and business. And men know that have been raised properly that the most stabilizing thing that you can have is the foundation of a family. So getting married as a man early versus late helps to stabilize you. It helps to keep you focused. It gives you that singular focus you need to prioritize financial prosperity. And so because of that, they're able to go on with that focus and create this wealth. And then the statistic, when you break it down further, says a lot of these millionaires, the couples have created the wealth together, which means that either both of them are working, or it means that either one was working and the other was taking care of the home. But whatever it was, they were bringing two things together and creating something. Not he was a millionaire first, and then he found her and gave her this soft girl life. That narrative that's floating around, that's just not how it goes. And that's why many of these women in particular are finding themselves getting with a man who has something. He's older. Then when he uses her up, he throws her away. But they keep teaching people to run after this. You know, when you see these couples, those couples normally look regular. You don't see the BBLs and, all the flashy cars. Most of these people aren't chasing after the flash. And when I say flash, I mean, putting their money out there. That doesn't mean they don't have nice cars. That don't mean that they don't have a beautiful wife. That doesn't mean that she doesn't wear expensive clothing or he doesn't have expensive suits or expensive watches. That's not it. What it is that they don't prioritize showing out. They prioritize building, investing, long-term and short-term and mid-term outcomes for investments. They're not worried about whether the internet can see them balling out. That's why you don't know who these millionaires are. Getting married young is still one of the number one things you can do as a man to help stabilize yourself. It's what I would teach my son. It's what I would teach my nephew. And it's what I would teach my nieces, is to marry young. Well, what do you think? What would you tell your son and daughter? Let me know. Leave a comment or make a video and I'll answer you.
Wow, man. Powerful, very powerful message. And I love hearing this because I think it's actually a winning strategy. I think it really is a winning strategy, especially for young men hearing it from an older guy, man, just really giving a game. With that being said, this is what I think we run into, especially now. But before I go into that, again, I just want to reiterate. I think that what he said is a winning formula. Hey, get married young because it gives you so much runway to be able to build towards success with someone earlier in life versus later. And we'll dig into that a little later in the video. But here's one of the issues that I see that's being ran into. Cultural differences, right? There's a lot of conversation and has been a lot of conversation about different cultural thought processes on when it comes to marriage, especially when it comes to women. One thing that I've heard repeated my whole life is, number one, rich people teach their kids something different from poor people, right? The second thing I've heard is white women teach their daughters differently versus black women teaching their daughters. And what I mean by that, when it comes to the conversation I've heard, right, and that's been permeating over the internet, when it comes to white girls who go to college, they're not going to college strictly only for their degree. That's part of it. They're going to college to look for husbands, to get them earlier while they're on their way up in their trajectory. You understand? Now, on the flip side, when it comes to black women, what I've heard based on conversation is they don't go to college looking for husbands. They go strictly for their degree because remember, in their mentality, they don't need a man. So they're not looking for a man. They're putting their careers first. And so therefore, later, when they get their degree, which is great, right? When they come out of college, they're not looking to say, all right, I got this degree. Let me find somebody to build with now. They're saying, no, that's on the back burner. Let me put my career first. And then when I get up to a certain level of lifestyle and accomplishment, then let me find somebody who's at my level. You see what I'm saying? That's where the cultural differences is. And I think that's why the formula, in particular when it comes to black women, has put them behind the 8 ball, which in turns when it comes to trying to find a suitable partner. And so they run into the issue when it comes to where the man at. Oh, I want this type of man who's on my level. They don't quote unquote date down. You see what I'm saying? They'll tell you real quick, they only want to date at their level or up. But if they don't, if another man doesn't quote unquote have their accomplishment, make the same income as them, live the same lifestyle, if they find someone who's below that quote unquote, who doesn't match with that, they call that dating down. You understand? And so it put a lot of men in a difficult position because really and truly in the man's situation, he's not below her. He's just in a different lifestyle. He may be a blue collar worker making great money in a career that's actually blooming, right? We know construction is being built everywhere, but because it doesn't match what the woman perceives as a good man or a man of high status, I'm talking about black women, she's not looking for that man. Versus going to the other side, when it comes to white women, they're finding men earlier who show potential, right? They're in school, they're getting their degrees. A lot of white women love blue collar men, not all white collar men, right? And so they respect because maybe their fathers were in construction or blue collar who had different trades and stuff like that. So they respect that man. On the flip side, black women don't care about dudes doing construction and being electricians and stuff. No, they want ballers. You know what I'm saying? They want CEOs. They want bosses. You see what I'm saying? That's what their mentality is. And so that is what is creating the issue, part of it, not all of it, but that's a part of it specifically when it comes to this topic about marrying early and finding a partner you can build with, invest with, grow with, right? Versus what he said, finding somebody who's already quote unquote at the finish line, who's already built, a builder man. You see what I'm saying? He's already built. And so a lot of women, not just black and white, but a lot of women do want dudes they wait at the finish line. They want dudes to show up, already got money, already got status, already have a thriving future, and they just want to jump on the bandwagon. But what he said, when they find this man, which is very rare for a lot of women because they don't even show up in a situation where they even know how to attract that man, right? And most men, let me not go there first, but they don't even show up on how to attract that man. And so therefore they get quote unquote used just for their body or whatever, and then they're tossed away. The other part I wanted to make is a lot of times when men already build themselves up, they're not looking for the boss babe. You see what I'm saying? They're already a boss. They don't want to match that energy. How a lot of women who reach that level, which is great, who want to attract the same thing. Men of high status, high value, high earning income, they're not looking for boss babes, man. They're not. They're looking for soft, feminine women who can follow their program, who doesn't give them any issues when they lead. And that's what it is. So I recommend, especially, and again, it's not all women, but we talking about specifically the conversation I've heard and seen myself and what's permeating on the internet. Women, again, they need to start finding dudes early. But I understand, again, culturally, what's being portrayed is these dudes who, quote unquote, they see right now when they're younger. Remember, men are hit their prime at like 35 to 65. the women are from like 18 to 30, maybe pushing 35 if they keep themselves up. So when they're young, they're looking for someone who's already there versus, hey, you know what? This dude, he doing his thing. He's being responsible. He may not have it all now, but I can see where he's going with it. They don't want that. You see what I'm saying? They want you already built and ready because they want to have fun. They just want to play until they like, okay, I've had all my fun. I've played. Maybe I got a kid. Maybe I don't. Maybe I got 2 kids. Maybe I don't. Maybe I got a couple babies. Right? Then they want you to say, all right, I'm ready. No, you can't have it both ways. You see what I'm saying? And the good thing about the stats that he brought up was, listen, the women who get the men early, when you look at the long-term trajectory, what he said, I think 30 years in the game, they've built it together. They've went through the trials and tribulations together. They've invested together. They went through the struggle together. And now they're millionaires. You see what I'm saying? But again, a lot of women nowadays, and now I'm a bunch, everybody, black and white, a lot of them nowadays want the man to be already at the finish line. They don't want to build nothing, man. They only want to just be given. And again, I'm not talking about all women, right? Because like I said, there are a lot of women who do want marriage, who do want a good life, who don't want all the glitz and glamour. But a lot of women, man, and this is why the dating game is so crazy right now. A lot of them just want you to give versus them inputting because of the mentality, because of the culture where we are currently in the dating market right now. So again, his message is totally on point, right? Marry early, men, young men, marry early and build with a woman. Right. But the problem is nowadays is the young guys are like, yo, we trying to find them. They ain't there. They don't want that. We want it as men, young men, but they don't want us where we currently are. Right. They don't want us just working a basic job and grinding it up. Right. They want us already 20 years ahead when we 18, 19, 20, 21 to 25. They want us to already be living like we 40 and have it. You know, the stability, the cars, they want us already like that. And I'm not saying that no young cats get it like that, but that's not what it is across the board. That's not the average, right? That's an exception nowadays. But that's what the women see. That's what they want. And there's nothing wrong with what they want, but they don't get the end results what they want up front. And that's the problem. So for the men out there, like I said, he has a great message. If you can find a woman early, and you marry her, you can. It keeps you in line to stay focused because you have something of value that you're building towards. A lot of times when young men are single, they just out there shooting a gun, running the streets, right? When I say shooting a gun, I'm talking about just chick to chick, right? Woman to woman, just laying down. And they don't really, a lot of time they're not working towards anything. They're just out there peacocking, trying to attract women to have sex. That's what a lot of them are doing. They're just running around. But when you build early, you get something established, like you marry early, you like, man, I got people counting on me. I gotta stay locked in. I can't be out here at night cheating. I gotta come back home to my wife. I gotta wake up next morning to go get this bread. Right? Now I got a child who I'm married to his woman. They relying on me. I can't be out here running the street. I can't be out here tricking off on the money. You see what I'm saying? So that's what he's saying. When it comes to, it keeps you focused, it keeps you grounded, it keeps you level. And a lot of women, they will actually benefit from this. But again, they want the excitement, they want the glitz and glamour, they want the fun, they want the soft life. And if they not willing to go through the struggle, man, because it is a struggle. Life is hard. But why not go through it with somebody and at least attempt to make it easier? Because 2 incomes are always better than 1. Trust and believe. But hey, great video. Man, he cooked. If you got any value from this video, hit the like button. Subscribe if it's your first time. And share this video out to any young man need to hear his message. This is a great message, man. Great message. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Much love. Peace.